about a fellow human being next to us, being, how can I say? Because when examples come to my mind, usually I have examples from South Africa and Brazil, and when I think about racism, it's very hard for me not thinking about jail in Brazil and in South Africa, talking about sanitation in Brazil and South Africa, talking about running water in Brazil and South Africa, talking about electricity provision. Everything that we have here in this room, in this very bright room, is not available outside. It's not available for the majority of people we do research with, we do political policies for. And I think the story Gao brought us is an amazing example of this opposition between clarity and darkness. I'm talking about darkness in a sense that we don't consider part of our fellow citizens, of our neighbors, of human beings who are next to us, as rational as we are. So I really think that when we are talking about recognition of justice and injustice, we should think louder, about our parameters of analysis, about our engagement, and actually about what we are risking to lose or to gain during this journey. I will open to the floor because I really think that you all have questions, and we will have many sessions thanks to Gustavo and my fellow organizers. We will have some more opportunities to talk about it. I have many hands. You first. Do you mind? I'm sorry, I don't know most of you. It's my fault. So I ask you to introduce yourselves and okay.
Thank you very much for all the talks. My name is Michael Khan, and I'm a South African. I'm not going to speak specifically about South Africa to start with when I get to the question. Of course, the commonality across the BRICS, the 5 BRICS now, is fascinating. The adoption in 1992 in Brazil, in Russia, in India of Washington Consensus. South Africa was rather earlier, perhaps closer to the date of China, 1978. And the way this has continued into the present, and we see in all 5 countries extremes of inequality. Now the paper of Francis talking about the media, of course, it is a fascinating window to use the popular media. I'm just going to question the particular choice that you made. SAFM, which once upon a time, 20 years ago, was the voice for, like me, English-speaking South Africans, and it was very rapidly perceived by the new government not to be presenting the kind of image it wanted. And the very experienced, highly critical newscasters migrated, and it became something completely different. And now it's talking to a different class, but I really don't think it's the right choice. The right choice for me would be to look at the equivalent of Brazil's novelas, the soap operas. And these are fascinating. In Brazil, it's a massive industry. In South Africa, it is a massive industry in all the languages. Now, we are a very crazy country, because to recognize our diversity, what the new ANC government did, of which I was part, was to, in a funny kind of way, actually continue with apartheid separation. This wonderful idea of the rainbow nation. Apartheid said, you are this, you are that, you are that. You can't make love to this one, you can't drink with that one, you can't live with that one. And it was rigid. It was put into the form of concrete, and it was carried forward in institutional form in the media. So in the dawn of democracy, we had radio stations in all 11 official languages. And our soap operas, you have them in English, you have them in Afrikaans, it's called 7th Avenue in Dutch, 7de Laan, Millions of people watch it, and then in the African languages, Isidingo, which is exported right through Africa and subtitled. And if you want to really get to what is happening in South Africa, I think those are the channels to look at, rather than this very exclusivist middle-class channel, the SAFM. And to conclude, if you are still awake at 8 and you come and listen to my nonsense, the pioneer for media manipulation was South African breweries. Already in the 1980s, when all of these things were illegal and you couldn't take a drink legally with a black friend, they were producing TV adverts, highly skillful, of the men, of course the men, building something big in the hard hats. Men at the end of the day drink beer together, and they were going against the state of the day, very powerfully, and of course their profits were wonderful. Thank you.
Francis wants to do a quick response.
I couldn't agree with you more. So I have consumed Isidingo and the generations. I have examined students who have worked on them, and the crafting of the new South Africa, very well balanced in those, is clearly a model for the future. But what I listened to SAFM on was a particular episode on Freedom Day, which was meant for people to call in. And it was a very interactive program, commenting on South Africa 18 years after. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? And of course, the assumption is that however unrepresentative, the fact that those are South Africans calling in is indicative. And I use that as an entry point into my discussion of the issues. And when you read the paper, you will see that the paper doesn't, is not narrowly confined to that particular program, but yet you see it as a launch path in a way. So, but apart from that, everything else you said is music to my ears.
I can guarantee, because last time I met Francis in Cape Town, we watched together a Scandal.
My question is about the first paper. Hello. About Mr. Arua's paper presentation. And I would like to advise him to select references very carefully while preparing the paper. And there are questions, very serious questions raised about some of these references which have been cited in the paper. That is one. And therefore, you would not, for art and others, you have cited repeatedly on caste. And I think the point which I am trying to make is that if caste as a system is weakening over the decades, then casteism cannot remain that strong, because it has emanated from the system itself. And the system, you have rightly quoted Dumont, but you have not said anything about Dumont except using the name, because Dumont means that caste is an ideology of pure and impure, and that is an ideology of encompassing and the encompassed, of the prescriber and the prescribed, and that is the priest is prescriber and the king is prescribed, though he is king. King is superior in political matters, rules over the priest, but the priest prescribes what needs to do. Now, if you read carefully this as a system, and this existed as in everyday life 2, 3, 4 centuries ago, and then you should have seen some of these things, that caste also had a system of contra-priest, the priest from the below, and that meant bargaining. That meant some kind of asymmetrical give and take. I mean, that was a part of the caste system. You should have referred, for example, caste of mind by Dux. who says how the British created the system in a different way altogether, and implemented by Risley, who conducted the 1901 census and later on followed by Hutton in 1931. I think, and then caste, the way you have used categories. Caste becomes category only in abstract sense, in analytical sense. Mahars are a caste. You cannot say Mahars as a category, and they have gotten most of the benefits in Maharashtra, and so Chamars in West UP and other parts of the country. So I think one has to be very careful what is casteism. Casteism is independent of the caste system today, and therefore there is casteism because of the non-caste factors. And this is a very serious point. I think otherwise you have been very concerned, sensitive to your issue, but these are the things which need to be taken into account. Thank you.
Yeah, can I also add on some questions to Pedro's work? Because poverty is also one of my very interesting research field. I got a little bit confused about your work. First is I am not quite understanding your social group division definition. What is SC, ST, OBC? Can you give a little bit more clarification on this? And another thing is on some of the poverty relievation policies you listed, such as a public distribution system. Given it is a poverty relievation plan, how could the discriminations exist in such a system? And moreover, this system, from your presentation, I understand the system is targeting on the redistribution things. And for such a system, what is the sustainability of this kind of system? Or put another way, how could the money come from? And this is my questions to Pedro. And also I also had some discussion points with Professor Tao, also my teacher in Beijing University. I like the point that you listed about the duality system, which could be a very good starting point for many researchers on social science. But I got some problems in this point is that you divide the developed group and the less developed group mainly in its education level. But for some of the observations, first is after a long period of the planning of